Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to our live today. I'm Helena and I'm joined by the lovely Sue Davies. Welcome, Sue.
Hello, good
Nice
afternoon.
To see you. Now, Sue, I've known for a very long time and she wears a number of hats. She is an industry veteran. I hope you don't mind me calling you that, Sue.
I've got used to being that now. The first time you called me that, I nearly died. It's like, oh my God, I'm really old.
Oh no, it's not a whole thing, it's an experience.
No, I know. That's what my son said to me. He went, Mum, you should take that as a compliment, really. Okay.
Big compliment. But some of your hats, you've been an educator, you're streaming live now from your Scratch Stars award-winning salon in Bexley, gorgeous. Yes. And I mean, you've dabbled in competition judging, you've done trade association management. I mean, you've had a huge breadth of experience within the nail industry for is it about 18 years now?
It is around 18 years, yeah. I think we're just about to hit 19. I think I hit 19 on Friday, actually, next week. 2nd of April, 2002 was my first training course.
Brilliant stuff. Oh my goodness. But now one of your newer hats is for the Federation of Nail Professionals, otherwise known as the FNP, for which you are Deputy Chair and Director of Information. Now, what does that mean? What do you do at the FNP?
It's still kind of it's a kind of evolving role at the moment. So I'm Marion Newman's sidekick, which is a lovely position. I was just saying before we started, it's a position I didn't ever see myself being in, but it's great working alongside Marion and the rest of the team. And so I'm kind of like Director of Information thing. There's been lots of jokes about me being sort of like part of the CIA and stuff, but basically I'm there to kind of make sure that the information we put out is correct, timely, accurate, and to make sure that we're kind of passing out information that's useful to people. And so I kind of do bits and pieces across website, blogs, and all that kind of stuff at the moment as well. So my remit's quite broad at the moment.
Brilliant, and it's such a valuable resource throughout the pandemic as well. Launched in November, I think you went live with the FNP. Since then, obviously, I've seen a lot of social media posts of how of giving out information that is so valuable to our nail industry. And you're in the process of gleaning a little bit more information, because you have set up a nail industry census. Tell us about that.
Okay, so we knew when we were starting the FNP, and when we were sort of going through all the plans for it last summer and into the autumn, that one of the things that we needed to do was just make sure that people outside of the industry know how valuable we are, but also just so that ourselves as professionals and distribution companies and product companies actually start getting a picture of the value that we have as technicians, the value that we have as an industry, how much money we put into the economy and all that kind of stuff. And so the quickest way to do that, although it's taken quite a while to get the information, but the quickest way to do that is to actually just ask people how they work, what they do, when they do it, how they do it, who they work with, and how much they're spending and stuff like that. So it seemed like a fairly no-brainer kind of decision, and it, the census is quite broad and it covers a huge amount of areas. And one of the things that I really tried to focus on with what's been going on recently is how we've responded to COVID. So there's loads and loads of information that's going to come out of this that will be so valuable to our product companies, to us as an industry broadly, and also to come to outside organisations like Habia and with the business, energy and industry services as well, like with their department. So we're hoping that it's going to be quite far-reaching. There's going to be a lot of the data that we've got already is quite fascinating. I like that kind of thing, so I keep sitting on there playing with the graphs. Brilliant.
So what kind of things are you asking of people that fill the census? What kind of questions are on this census? Because we've all done the national census, and we know what questions they
are. It's quite a long time for this, isn't it? And do you know what? Back in 1991, when I was really, really skint and heavily mortgaged, like as a young person, I was actually a census. I can't remember what we were called now, but I was actually out pounding the streets, taking census forms around to people's houses and doing census. It was just unbearable.
So you're coming from experience in that sense now.
Yes, I'm a census expert. But I think maybe having that experience as well is, I know I can't quite into it all at the time, and it's such a valuable piece of information that the government have all that information on us and how they use it, and it just allows people to have direction on decisions that they're going to make and how they market different things, how they promote things to individuals. So the census is made up. After doing the initial census, it started becoming quite obvious that there was a lot of questions that were very specifically for business owners, but we were also trying to find information out about employees and how employees felt working in the industry. And it became quite incompatible. So in the end, we divided it. So we have one census that is very specifically aimed at employees and students and apprentices and people that are like literally in an employee kind of role or just entering as a solo professional. And then there is another census that is for self-employed people and also for business owners that are not necessarily qualified, but still own a salon. And so that one's very much more business and strategic, whereas the employee one is very much more questions. All of them start with questions on you as a person. So it goes through, you know, who you are, where you come from, what area of the country you're in, and it's just fascinating stuff. You know, like there's just huge numbers of people like in the northeast and the southeast that are now techs, just sort of weird stuff like that. And it's interesting because it kind of changes as more people fill it out and stuff. But just I can't believe how many people in the northeast are now techs.
That's tons. The better the response that you get to this census, the better that you can help, you know, plan for the future of the nail industry, see what areas people need support in and help in, advice in what business owners may need to start thinking about. So you're calling for people to jump onto your website, the-fnp.com, and really choose the census of the two that's appropriate to them and their job role, and answer those questions. It takes, how long does it take to answer this?
It's around about, it depends on how quickly you read, obviously, because if you're a slow reader, it's going to take a little bit longer. But I get through it when I've done, because the FNP board have been playing with it quite a lot when we first did it. So we averaged around about 15 minutes for the business owner one, and probably slightly less for the employee one, because there's a few less questions on that. But they kind of cover everything. So they cover how you've been educated, whether you've continued your education. It covers things like in the employee one, it covers what your hourly rates are. So we've got interesting information coming on how we kind of will fit within pay structures and stuff with it, like on a nationwide basis. So the information on that side is going to be fascinating, and we're already getting lots of very juicy data there. But on the business side, it's much more about, you know, where you're spending your money as a business, you know, and also what companies you're spending that with as well. It's just tons, and it is all the COVID response and how many people have accessed all of the grants and stuff like that, just to try and get a picture of, as an industry, how we have actually managed to survive, because most of us have survived, some haven't. But it's just, there's quite interesting information coming out of that.
This data is going to be so valuable to people, especially, you know, post-COVID, when the dynamic has completely changed. And I think, you know, no one knows how things are going to go in the next 12 months. So this will really help with planning a little bit for the future and just gaining some perspective on that. But also, you've written about it in your April column for Scratch, which will be out next week, so people can learn more about it in there. But one of the examples that you've given, and just to make this aware for our wider audience, is that you've been asking how much do people charge for a gel polish manicure. And the chart that you sent us, that we've included in the article, shows those averages, and you can see via the results of this census, you know, how much is being charged in your area. So if you're thinking about putting your prices up, or you're opening a business, if you're a student, for example, then it will be great to see those results, because then you can compare, you know, in your area, the pricing pointers and go from there. But we've had a question about the information itself.
Or have we?
Where will this information be available? Will it be free, or will it have to be paid for to find out more?
I think our plan is that we will we will be able to document some of the information, and we will make a sort of a fairly generic report. But the industry information and some of the information may be quite sensitive. So it may be that we either don't release that and it's something that we hold for ourselves and we put into our reports and stuff, and that information isn't available. But it will be available, to purchase it. That's part of what it is, and that's how censuses work. It's a lot of useful data. All of it is anonymous. There is no name taking. Even the ISPs and stuff like that aren't held. So when you fill the census out, it is completely anonymous. We have no idea, other than if you click I live in the northeast, or I live in the northwest, or in Scotland, or wherever. We have no idea who you are, where you are, other than that you're a female that is between age, 40 and 50 or whatever, and you come from Scotland, and that's about as much as we know about you. So so it's completely anonymous, but that information and the picture that it gives and the trends that it shows will be available to interested parties.
Okay, so sorry, just to clarify, will those interested parties have to pay for that specific? We will be working out how that's going to work, and and so anybody that is interested, obviously, if they want to approach us, they can get me at sue@thefnp.com. Fantastic. And both of those censuses are live now on the website. We'll post the link in the bio, and we'll post after this live the specific links to those two censuses. The first one is for employees, students and apprentices, and the second one is for the self-employed and business owners.
That's
so
correct.
They're the two. So when...
And also, and educators as well, because it's sort of, educators kind of go between the two, depending on their role and how their employment status is. But if you can fill both out. So some people are employed and self-employed. So if you have two different perspectives, then please fill out both of the forms.
Fantastic stuff. So when will you be closing off the census? When is the finishing date?
The finishing date, because it's kind of, because we started this really, I think it was November, I'm sure it was November when we launched, when we did our soft launch, and it's kind of going on and on. So I thought, we just need to have a cut-off date. So we've said we're going to stop on the 30th of April, and that allows everyone to get back into work, and then we can close it and we can start taking the data.
Brilliant. So, but the time is now really before the industry starts reopening, but for many of us, fingers crossed, on the 12th of April, or from the 12th of April. So now's a really, really good time to do it. And like you said, it only takes about 15 minutes on average.
Yeah. Sit down of an evening, grab your G&T and just sit clicking, because it literally is just like click, 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 click. That's all you've got to do.
Brilliant. And that information is so valuable to our industry as well.
Massively. It's one of the other things that I put in, if you don't mind me saying, that's going to be in Scratch next week, is around employers and how they find taking on new staff and stuff, and about the quality and the calibre of staff. And because we can't disclose loads of information at the moment, but just things like that, it's so vital for our education system, whether it's an FE or whether it's a private academy, for them to understand that employers, and this is a huge problem. Myself as an employer, and nearly every other salon owner I know has issues with getting high calibre staff, and so the census will kind of point and give answers on maybe how that can be addressed, or how big the problem is, and so that our educational side of the industry can kind of work to help improve the employment opportunities for the girls that are coming into industry and the boys that are coming into industry.
That sounds great. It's kind of safeguarding for the future as well, and just really supporting people in their future plans. So that's all about the census and why you should go and fill it in and spend those 15 minutes filling it in. So like I said, we will post those links below, but the census details are on the-fnp.com, and make sure you follow the FNP on socials as well. But I just wanted to touch base, now we've talked about the census, on the FNP and membership. Can you tell us about membership and how that's working?
It's coming. We get asked so often, when can I sign up? When can I pay you? Kind of thing. And it isn't, we're literally just going through like a massive revamp with the website and stuff, trying to make sure everything's in place. And we are hoping that we will be starting a building of the launch process with an aim to be launching around mid-May is our intention at the moment. But obviously with everything and how the world is weird at the moment, best intentions, but it will be soon. And yeah, so all of those different membership options will be there. And yeah, we're just sort of starting to have conversations with some companies around patronage and benefaction, and that's proving quite interesting as well. But I can't discuss that at the moment.
And people can sign up for your to your newsletter or your website at the moment to receive.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, so if you go to the-fnp.com, on there we've got a supporters sign up that you can do, because it doesn't cost anything to be a supporter. And then once we get everything in place, then we'll be emailing out to all of our supporters to say the membership's coming. And also, I don't think you're going to miss it, because it will be everywhere. We will be singing from the rooftops once we can actually finally do it. Because obviously, up until this point, we're self-funding, and at some point it can't be self-funding, because with all the things we've got planned, we actually do need to have financial backing. Otherwise, we aren't going to be able to proceed in the way that the industry needs it to proceed.
And time is money as well. You know, there's a board of 6 of you, and you're working. I mean, what you've done since November so far has been fantastic for the nail industry. And you know, time is money. We all know that as working within a business. So absolutely. Makes sense.
Yeah, and it's, you know, and it's difficult, you know, and we're all trying to run our own businesses and our own ventures and stuff at the same time, and you know, and ultimately, and it isn't necessarily about us being paid, but it's about us being able to, you know, take that seat at the table that we've kind of barged our way into, with Marion at the forefront, you know, being there with Bays and stuff, and working alongside the other industry organisations, and you know, we need to be able to do that, and that doesn't come, you know, free. You know, you have to be travelling and you have to be there, or whatever. I mean, at the moment, obviously, it's all done by Zoom, but in the future, you know, we need to be, even just to, you know, to present the report from the census and stuff. You know, that isn't going to be, you know, something that comes free. We're going to have to pay to have that, all of that data extracted and analysed, and you know, that's why it will have a cost attached to it once the information is there.
Absolutely,
because it isn't free.
Too right. And you've got a lot of things planned for the FNP. What are your goals? Obviously, you've got the census, but what are your goals for the next sort of 6 months or so? Okay, so we're working in collaboration with Habia. We're working in collaboration with other industry bodies, and we're working towards one. I think one of the bigger projects that we're looking at. Obviously, there's a lot of talk around regulation at the moment, and we're working with the Hair and Barber Council to look at, they are the guardians of the Act of Parliament that looks after currently the hair industry's self-regulation, or their self-registration, I should say. And at the moment it's voluntary, but they're looking at making that a mandatory registration. And if that goes you know, up through the levels and it becomes law, which obviously it's not going to be, that isn't going to happen next year, but the conversations are happening. And we need to be at that table, because currently we have a situation, as most of us that are in the now sector know, is that, you know, other organisations, although they have access for now professionals, we aren't truly represented by them in the same way that we would be represented by the FNP. And that's openly, you know, everyone kind of knows that and understands that. And so we need to have that seat at the table to make sure that we're represented. You know, we work with chemicals and procedures that, you know, have health and safety impact, and so we need to make sure that if there's a conversation on regulation and registration or whatever it may be, or licensing, that there is someone there to represent our industry, and those conversations will be being had in the next year or so. And so that's one of our big things, and it is, you know, we're working with Babtac on things, and working with Habia around educational standards. A few of us have been involved with the NOS that is just coming out, and yeah, so we're being quite active. Yes, I'd say so. Very busy and making a huge dent in industry progress since launching in November. Well, thank you, Sue, and thank you to the rest of the board for everything that you're doing for the FNP. And just a reminder to everyone, fill in that census. You have until 30th of April. It will be posted below, but you can also find those census details at the-fnp.com, and please follow the FNP on socials as well. So lots of posts from Sue and the team on there as Director of Information.
Yeah. And just get in touch if you've got questions. Do get in touch. You know, we're active on our Facebook page, and we are just about to launch a new FNP community group as well. So do, you know, come find us and ask questions.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Sue. And
That's
we
okay.
hope to see you soon.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.